Delightful Nightmares, Episode 1 The Stone Door. Written and read by Ryan Shukas. Stay tuned May 16th for Episode 2.
A kangaroo walks into the bar, says a malnourished Scotsman with one arm, mending together a boat he gathered from all the resources he could find upon the island he's lived on for a few years. At least he thinks it's been 3 years. Some days he thinks it's a year, while it's only been 9.5 months. The kangaroo walks to the bartender and says, "Hey, do you have anything that'll put a hop in my skip?" The bartender looks at him, confused. The Scotsman bursts out laughing at their own joke. Taking some thick twigs, he ties them to the boat, along with the others, tying them down with some rope that washed ashore. The bartender says, "Well, this one would put a hop in your skip, and it'll turn your bad moods into the good ones." The bartender pours the kangaroo a drink. The kangaroo takes a sip and immediately passes out. The Scotsman laughs louder than before, catching his breath as he vehemently concludes the joke for the twig raft he finishes mending. The bartender goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. Was that too strong for you?" The kangaroo lifts its head and unclasps his eyes. "No, it is perfect. I've got to call up my roommate and tell him all about it." The Scotsman bursts out laughing again, except this time he falls over and rolls around in the sand as the sun beats down on his sun-spotted tan skin. Sand gets caught in their bright red beard as their long curly red hair gets entangled in their face. A figure appears. The Scotsman quickly becomes a pile of red hair, rolling around like a dirty stray dog. "Get up, you idiot," the figure said as they stepped into the boat. "It's been nearly 3 years since we've been here. Give me a moment of euphoria as we finally say goodbye to our desolate purgatory. I'd rather take on the high seas than one more day on this shite land." "I heard something. Did you hear something?" "The fuck are you talking about, Duke?" "Shh. Listen," Duke said as he trailed away. Angus stared at his large black friend as he tried to figure out what was happening. Rolling out of the sand, he brushed him off and followed Duke. The man stepped back into the jungle. Quickly, Angus ran after him, hobbling on thin legs and a hollow rib cage. His red beard with patches of white blew over his shoulder as he narrowed his ice blue eyes forward. Angus itched the nub of his left arm. The phantom pains always returned during times of bedlam. Angus stopped in place and looked around. "Duke? Duke? Where are you?" "Over here. Come look at this. I found the noise," Duke shouted from ahead of him. Angus continued sprinting through the thick brush, hopping over 5-foot-tall green ferns, dipping around thick palm trees, and slapping away long vines. Angus saw Duke. The big fellow was staring at the boulder, a boulder Angus knew. Odd-looking thing, big and gray, but it looked out of place. The only boulder on the whole damn island. The boulder was a place Angus enjoyed taking some solace during times of frustration. Angus ran up to his friend and looked at him. Duke's afro was large and rippled in the breeze. His black beard drooped past his chest, and his big brown bloodshot eyes stared at the boulder before them. "Duke, I've spent too long on this damn island. Today is the day we're finally leaving. I'm ready to leave. Now please, let's..." Angus froze. His jaw unhinged as his eyes locked on the boulder. The sound Duke heard was a door opening. The door was in the boulder before them. The boulder that Angus had known for 3 years and enjoyed sunbathing on had a door, and it just opened. "Is that a door?" "Looks to me like a door." "Should we go inside?" "What if it closes on us?" "We could grab a stick and prop the door open." "Prop the door open with the stick? Angus, it's a stone door. It'll snap that twig in shreds." "Well, we could prop the stone door open with another rock." "Now you're onto something." Angus and Duke looked around the area for a big rock. After the sun passed high noon, they found a small boulder. Unfortunately, moving the rock was the problem. Angus's idea of propping it up with a rock worked, but Angus needed help with rolling it to the door. "Duke, goddammit, I'd appreciate it if you could help." "I would, but I'm just awfully tired." "At least guide me then." Just a little further. Hang a right. Angus hung a right, and the boulder hit the open stone door. Propping it up, Angus squealed as he fell backward into the dirt. The small boulder leaned against the stone door, propped it open. You did a great job. No thanks to you, Angus said, accepting Duke's hand as Duke hoisted him up. They both turned their faces back to the tenebrous void that opened up to them. All right. Well, you go first, Angus belched at Duke. Why, me? I rolled the boulder. Plus, you're taller and you're bigger than I am. You go first. Angus hesitated and shrugged his shoulders forward. Then, stepping into the doorway, he disappeared into the darkness. The darkness was cold. Duke stepped down on carved stone steps that chilled his bare feet. Ponderously, he stepped into the boulder, groping the walls as he went deeper and deeper. Looking behind him, he saw Angus following closely. Stepping into the darkness, Angus's hand came across something. Duke, I think I found something. What'd you find? A light switch. Angus flicked the switch on, and a room lit up before them. It was vast. A room connected to several other rooms. Duke and Angus stepped down the stairs and looked around incredulously. They stood in an underground bunker. They ran from room to room. There was a living room, an exercise room, a room full of several comfortable beds, a pantry, and a room with a vast computer and several switches with buttons. Duke, am I imagining this? No, Angus. This is real. Duke was standing in the pantry, opening the cabinets to several hundreds of cans of food, all perishables beyond what they could ever imagine. Angus, are you hungry? Duke laughed as the two of them danced and shouted for joy. They held arms full of cans as they absconded to the kitchen. They tore apart the pantry until they could find a can opener. Anything they could find to pry the cans open. Duke gave up and saw a knife. He stabbed away at the can as he sucked the juice from within. It's good. Angus, just wait. You'll love it. Don't be a complete savage, Duke, Angus said as he took his can. With the can opener, he pried it open and handed him back the can. They had eaten 4 cans of Campbell's Chunky Soup in just 10 minutes. They lethargically rubbed their bellies as they belched. I'm sure that it tastes better heated, but my God, I haven't eaten food that good in over 3 years. Angus belched. Their eyes felt tired as they rubbed their faces. The couch was swallowing them as they stretched their limbs. Angus, say we postpone our trip across the sea. Say, here for a while. Think things over. We could maybe come up with a new plan. Rebuild the ship and fill it with food. Not a bad idea. We should probably figure out why this place is here first. Why did that door open? Ah, right. Well, it's late. I haven't slept in a bed in over 3 years. So say we sleep. Figure this out in the morning. Hey, that sounds like a good plan. The two absconded to the bedrooms and collapsed on the soft mattresses. They left their empty soup cans behind. They drank fresh water from the bathroom sink, relieved themselves, and laid down on freshly made beds. There was some dust here and there, but for the most part, the place was fairly clean. As they lay in their beds, they looked up at the ceiling. Duke, why did the door open the very day we were finally trying to leave? We've been here for years. Why today? I don't know, Angus. But I'll tell you what. Laying in these beds is the best I've felt in years. I feel so good right now. The two of them fell asleep faster than a newborn baby. They dreamt heavier than they had in years. They dreamt dreams erasing time on the island, convincing them they had never left the mainland. Angus and Duke dreamt they were still living in New York before they were homeless, when they were both still working for the university. The following day, the both of them slowly awoke. Their bellies were still full from the night before. However, their stomachs had grown. Their muscles didn't ache, and they slept even longer than they usually would sleep under the canopy. Duke and Angus had been sleeping for 5 hours at most under the canopy, but they slept almost 8 hours upon these fluffed mattresses. Duke awoke first and shook Angus awake. Did you hear something? No. What is with you on hearing something?
I swear I heard it yesterday. We should have a look around. You look good. You look like you finally got the rest you needed. You as well, Duke. We should eat more and finally shower before we investigate the sound. Angus and Duke returned to the kitchen and cooked a massive meal of pancakes and canned ham with some beans. They ate up multiple plates. Then, they both found the showers. There were 6 of them. They stepped in and washed the dirt and crud off their bodies. What Angus thought was tan on his skin was a thin layer of dirt. After showering, they stared at their faces in the mirrors, not recognizing themselves. They examined the healed sores, cuts, and new wrinkles they found on their faces. Duke left and returned with scissors and some hair clippers he found. He looked at Angus and shrugged his shoulders. Care for a haircut? Why not? I'll cut your hair too. They set up a spot in the kitchen where they cut each other's hair, laughing as they did. They were both still incredulous at the fact they had found this place. Duke shaved all the hair off of Angus's head and his beard off completely, while Angus did the same to Duke, except he didn't shave Duke's head but trimmed it down as far as he could while shaving off his large beard. They both looked in the mirror and laughed at their new, freshly cut appearances. They found some toothpaste and brushed their teeth. Then they went to investigate the noise. Stepping out of the bathroom, they followed the sound of a dull beep that rang once every 25 seconds. Duke led the way. They followed it into the control room, besides the living room. In the control room was a vast computer with several buttons and switches, and a small red light was blinking. Duke touched it several times, but nothing happened. What does it say, Duke? Does it say anything? No, I've tried pushing it, and nothing happened. Nothing is labeled. Wait, what about the switch underneath the button? Here, let me. Angus stepped forward and flicked the switch underneath the red light. As the switch flicked, the television popped and crackled. From the TV, light illuminated their faces. Shielding their eyes, they turned away as a voice filled the room. Angus McLean? Hello! Duke stared at Angus as Angus turned to the screen. A man looked back at them. They appeared Korean, wearing a lab coat. They sat in an office surrounded by plaques. Hello? Who might you be? I am Dr. Sun. I work here at XK Corporations. You're currently standing in one of our facilities. What is this place? Angus asked as Duke stepped back towards the door. It is an underground fallout shelter and control center for nuclear bombs. What do you want? What you are there for? Why you are on that island, Angus. I want you to save the world. What world? The United States, Europe, Scotland? What world? The world, Angus. This is all planned, despite how impetuous you might believe things have been for you. It's your purpose to be on that island because we set your life on a course for you to arrive there. Angus took a step back and ran his hands around his scalp. I don't understand. You're the reason I'm on this island. You are right, Duke, and I have been stuck here for 3 years. Oh, it hasn't been 3 years. Almost 10 months. Are you referring to Duke Wellington? Yes, Duke, standing beside me, Duke. Angus turned around and Duke was gone. I only see you, Angus. Duke was a lover of yours, was he not? Yes. Angus looked back to the screen, terrified. We fell in love at NYU while we both taught. Then the university fired you, not because of your affair, but heroin possession, which is the reason you're missing your arm there. After they fired you, you overdosed and had to have your arm amputated because of an infection. Then you and Duke were homeless for a while. Yes. Then we traveled west, trying to get to Asia. A chance at a better life and possibly a clean slate. I had some jobs lined up. You made it to Los Angeles and boarded a shipping vessel that sunk just a few miles away from Turtok Island, which you're currently standing on. Yes. How did you know all this? As I told you, Angus, we planned it. Your boat didn't even sink, it was an illusion. They drugged you in the night and tossed you overboard with some floating debris. We've also imagined your long-lost lover, Duke, who has been with you the whole time. A way for your mind to cope with the loneliness. Duke, I'm sure, drifted in and out at first, but then came to the point where he stayed and was with you every day. Am I right? Yes, Angus cried, wiping his cheeks as he looked around for Duke. Duke died in Los Angeles. You two were carjacking someone in Beverly Hills, and you didn't expect the owner to appear armed. You've been without Duke for over a year now. What do you want from me? Angus cried as his arm shook. I want you to save this world. Not just a country in this world. Your life, you may believe, has not been very fulfilling, but it has led you to this moment right here. This is your destiny, Angus. Are you ready to listen? Yes, sir. I'm ready to listen. Angus pulled up a chair and sat staring at the doctor. Animations played out before him, revealing the Earth and a large asteroid heading their way. As you can see, we only have so much time. Before you is a control panel, of which, with my terse instructions, you can easily resolve this situation. On this control panel is a purple glass box. Besides the glass box is a switch. Turn the switch counterclockwise and it'll open the glass box. Inside is a keyhole. The key is inside the safe underneath the control panel. The code is 4567. Once you insert the key and activate the missile, your job is nearly done. All you have to do is press the red blinking button. The missile will coordinate with the asteroid, ignite, and launch in less than 20 minutes. The entire world is currently watching you. I tuned in everyone, waiting for your move. We're all depending on you, Angus. The countdown has begun. A bright red clock illuminated, counting down. The countdown begins from 6 hours and 23 minutes. When this clock reads 0, the asteroid will enter the Earth's atmosphere. We'll have minutes left until the asteroid strikes. Mile-high tsunamis will hit. Tsunamis will hit every coast, the sky will turn black, and the Earth will go through a nuclear winter. And the sound of the asteroid striking will send a shockwave so powerful, millions around will die within minutes. Life on Earth will go extinct, and this blue planet will return to the gray rock it once was. As you wait to decide, I'll play news broadcasts about you. I hope it helps you choose. The doctor disappeared, and a news broadcast filled the screen. Footage of Angus standing in the control room broadcast across the world. People appeared to express their thoughts and feelings about Angus. They all had prayed to him, pleading and begging him to save them. Children, women, men, families, homeless people. Everyone on planet Earth. They were all praying to him to save them. The clock was ticking. Angus punched the code into the safe. Amongst the pile of paperwork, he found a single key with a bright red tag that read, Answer to Armageddon. Grabbing the key, Angus walked over to the purple glass case. Turning to the switch, it opened. He took the key and stabbed it into the ignition. Then he didn't turn it. The screen was going wild. People were shouting for joy, crying and thanking Angus, praising his name. No, I can't do it. Why? A robotic voice replied. What the hell did the world do for me? I was homeless for years. People spat at me. No one wanted to help me, and the world wanted nothing but to pretend I didn't exist. I exist. I am here, and I believe the world doesn't need to be saved. Angus stepped away as the TV screen erupted into a paroxysm of bedlam. People were crying and shouting, pleading with Angus to return and simply turn the key. Instead, Angus ignored them. Stepping out of the bunker, he walked outside through the jungle and back to the beach, returning to his wooden vessel Duke and he had spent the past 50 days making. It sat on the shore, ready to go. Angus placed his calloused hand upon the wooden ship, smiling. Maybe it's time to go after all. I wish you were here, Duke. Angus sat on the beach and stared out at the ocean, losing track of time. The sun dipped towards the horizon as the colors splashed onto the ocean's surface. Angus stayed, thinking over and over again about what he should do, thinking about what his reality is and what he believed his reality to be over the past 10 months. Rubbing his scalp, he couldn't figure out what memories he had were real and what memories were fabricated. Time had taken hold of him as the sun dipped past the horizon. The sky darkened as beautiful stars twinkled above him. Looking up, he saw one star that looked odd. It was bright red. Every second that passed, it grew larger and larger. It left a fire trail behind it as it slowly approached the earth. Then Angus watched it strike the ocean. A loud crack sounded in the air as he covered his ears. The sky turned bright red momentarily, then returned to dark blue. Then the shockwave hit, throwing Angus back 15 feet. The winds picked up. He saw the ocean swell. Mile-high waves rose before him as they made their way to the island. Angus ran back to the jungle. Running to the bunker, he ran back to the control room. He looked down at the key he had left and turned it, but nothing happened. The television was static. All lines had been severed. Tears swelled Angus's face. "I'm sorry. You trusted me, and I failed you. I'm sorry. I don't know. I just couldn't save you." Angus ran back out of the bunker, back to the sea. He stood on the beach as the mile-high waves came for the island, swallowing the spit of land in a matter of minutes. Angus looked down at his feet and watched the ocean waves drag away from him. You could see dead fish, sea urchins, and piles of seaweed plop on the barren landscape where the ocean once was. Then a shadow fell onto Angus, covering the moon. He looked up and saw the ocean wave standing larger than the island he stood on. Angus lifted his arms and covered his face, sobbing. Then screams vomited from his mouth. "I love you, Duke. I'm sorry you loved me. I'm sorry, world. I'm sorry. I couldn't save you. Please forgive me." The wave fell and exploded onto the island. Angus's feet left the beach as the sky swallowed him. Everything went black as the water tore his body apart. Then everything was silent and still. A voice emerged from the darkness. "Simulation terminated." Angus coughed up water as he discovered he was in a bright white room. He lay in a gurney, naked except for a white towel. He was wet, as if he had been sitting in a bathtub. Cables connected to his head. Men and women in white uniforms approached. As one man who appeared to Angus, a clone of himself. He sat down next to Angus and rubbed his head. Now that was something different. That was exciting. "All right, Angus, let's give it another shot. We're finally heading in the right direction." The man smashed a button on a controller sitting in the palm of his hand. Electricity shocked Angus as his vision went black. Then he heard the ocean again. The bright sun shined above him as he worked on his boat. Angus laughed as he took a moment to look at the beautiful horizon. "A kangaroo walks into the bar." The end.